Hello, welcome back to another video on my yoga YouTube channel. I'm Jessie, a yoga teacher from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Today I'm going to walk you through a short-ish practice, a Vinyasa flow practice to help release anger specifically and potentially other negative, uncomfortable emotions as well. Saying emotions are negative is referring to the experience of them. It's not comfortable when you have these emotions, and that's when we tend to kind of numb out or turn off. Instead of doing that, with this practice, we'll move that energy through the body. So if you feel anger come up through the practice, if you feel other emotions coming up through the practice, breathe into it, lean into that, and by the end of the practice, hopefully you won't be feeling quite so angry or whatever it is that you've come to this practice for today. So to start, we're going to begin on a breath practice. And this breath practice that we're going to do is called Breath of Fire. So right off the bat, we're going to start moving some of that fiery energy through the body. It's interesting that I'm filming this today because it's been raining all day and I don't feel angry at all. I feel really calm. So gonna do it, and the breath of fire is hopefully gonna get me going for this practice too. So it's a really energizing practice and a great way to start off yoga or your morning too. If you are really slow waking up, you can try some breath of fire. So you'll bring one hand to your chest, you'll bring one hand to your stomach. So to start this breath, we'll take an inhale, and then you're gonna exhale sharply as if you have been, say, punched in the stomach, right? So you exhale sharply and you're gonna inhale just as sharply. So your mouth becomes this little O as in you're sucking through a straw, air in through a straw. So when you start actually going, it's gonna sound like this. So the inhale you don't hear, but it's there. It has to be, right? You can't just be exhaling. That was 15 breaths, and so just taking a couple of nice big inhales in between to reset. We're going to do that one more time, starting now. That was actually a little longer. That was 20 breaths that time. Release, letting go. If you found that practice helpful, you could work towards doing 20 or 30 of those breaths and even doing 3 or more times. We're going to stick to 2 and we're going to move on. So our first pose to help to start to calm down any angry feelings that you might be having is going to be a seated twist. So we'll change the way we're sitting. This isn't the most comfortable way to continue to sit. You can come to just a plain cross-legged position. Placing the hands on the knees to begin with. We'll just take an inhale breath here, closing off the eyes. And exhaling, really sinking down, grounding down into your seat. Inhaling the arms up overhead. And then exhaling, bringing the arms down through heart center. Letting the shoulders come back into place behind the chest. Inhale. This time we'll take our twist. So towards the right side first. We'll bring this left hand down towards the right knee. The right hand is going to come to the floor just behind your hip, so you can help sit up tall using that back arm as you help turn through the twist with this hand on the knee. You don't have to take a really strong twist. We're just in the warm-up phase. You have a chance to take some deeper twists later on. Inhale, reaching up. Maybe even looking up if it feels good for your neck, opening the chest, and then exhale over to the other side now towards the left. So left hand coming behind you, helping you sit up tall, lifting the chest. And the exhale breath, we'll press the hand into the knee, turn through. with every breath, you can turn a little bit deeper, sitting up taller. And release, bringing the hands up in between. And then exhale, hands down through center. We'll come to all fours. So just turn, grounding the hands and getting the knees underneath of the hips for a nice tabletop position. So from our tabletop, we'll sit the hips back towards the heels. You can widen through the knees, so taking them about as wide as your mat. Then you'll start to walk down towards the mat with your chest, lowering the chest down as far as you can. So the more you sink your chest down, the more you sit your hips back, you're not only lengthening through your spine, but also opening through the chest and shoulders. You can rest the forehead down, really extending the arms forward. Taking nice deep breaths here. Moving through some side bends here, so just coming to take our left hand just to the outside of the mat, and then the right hand is going to follow. Once you have your hands in position, one on top of the other, then you'll sink down through the chest, lowering to the mat again with the upper body, this time feeling that side stretch all the way down the right armpit to potentially all the way to the waist or even the hip. Coming back into the center and walking your way across to the other side. Right hand down on the floor, left hand on top of right, sinking down through the chest. And again, just taking some deep breaths to open along the side body. Coming back through center position, and we'll come up to take a couple of cat-cows, just one or two. Nice, slow, deep inhales, reaching the belly down, reaching the gaze and the chest forward, and then exhaling, sending the spine nice and high, letting the gaze drop towards the legs. One more time, just really nice and slowly getting all of the vertebra involved and moving here. Walking the knees back as you come back to a neutral spine. You can tuck the toes under if you like for a little added stability. So the same idea as child's pose, what we're about to do, we're going to keep our hips above the knees. So as you start to walk your hands forward, you're coming into what's called puppy pose, sometimes heart melting pose. Keeping the hips and knees in alignment with each other as you lower through the chest. So if you walked your hands out too far, you might need to bring them back a little bit if you can feel your hips going ahead of your knees. Just letting the belly and chest lower as much as they can, getting a nice deep stretch through the shoulders and quite a deep back bend as well. So you can come down onto your forearms here and then start to lower the hips, lowering the belly down and finding Sphinx pose. Just taking a couple of breaths in Sphinx, letting the chest mid-back get a nice bend, opening through the front body, shoulders back and down, and then you'll lower the chest. Hands come just below the fronts of the shoulders, and we'll inhale up for Cobra. Taking a deep breath in as you lift, keeping the elbows in, shoulders back and down, and then we're just going to hold here for a couple of breaths. Lowering the chest down a little bit and then pushing the floor away, coming back onto all fours. You can walk the knees in, coming back to the middle of your mat for a tabletop, And then you can take your left leg, and if you need to physically grab your left leg behind the knee and help it out to come forward, that's fine. But we're gonna end up in a low lunge with the left leg in front. So in our low lunge, you can keep the hands down for a moment here and maybe get a little bit of a rock from side to side going through those hips. Maybe even circles or infinity symbols with the hips, just to get a little bit of play and warming up through the hip joints as well. If you find anywhere that needs a little bit more TLC, where you want to stick for a minute or two, a breath or two, and that's fine. From here, once you're ready, you can get your balance. Maybe you want to, again, tuck the back toe for some stability, or if you have a sore knee, you can do that, and that will help. You'll start to bring your hands up onto your front leg. So I'm actually going to bring my back knee in a little tiny scooch more, because we're going to be practicing another twist here. So as you inhale, you'll bring your arms up towards the front, and as you exhale, going to turn towards that left leg, bringing your right hand across the left knee. Your left hand, you'll either just reach back behind you, or you'll reach down. See if you can grab for the outside of your right thigh. So pretty deep twist here. Good thing we warmed up with those twists earlier. And then let's release that, bringing the hands back down to the floor. So no fancy transitions here. You're simply going to walk that knee back, bring this knee forward. So we'll get into our sun salutations pretty quickly here. We're really still in our process of warming up. So second leg, right side, front, low lunge. So first we have the hands down, and we're just playing from side to side, moving around in circles or figure eights, the hips, making sure that if you're doing a circle or some circular shape, that you move in both directions. Just getting, again, that hip joint warmed up so that when we come to our balancing and our twists, that we're good to go through that joint. So should be ready now to bring your hands up onto the leg. Inhale, bring the arms up, and exhaling, turning towards the side. I really should have tied my hair back. All these twists, my hair always wants to get caught in my armpits. It's a real moment for you, a real yoga moment. Left hand is crossing that right knee, and your right hand is either reaching back, or maybe you're finding the outside of the left thigh. Just breathing here, and then you're ready to release, coming down. And so you walk that knee back, you're back in your tabletop position, and we'll move into our downward facing dog. So tucking under the toes, you're going to start to lift the knees off first. You can just hover them about an inch off of the floor to start to engage through the core. It's going to happen quite quickly here. This is kind of like a plank, but you take the legs out of the equation mostly, so it's even more for the core. And then pressing the hips first up as high as they will go, and then you can send them back. So you may need to step back a little bit there. I definitely did. And you may want to bend through the knees as well, depending on how flexible you are feeling at this point in your day. I spend most of the day on the couch so far. No shame. But now that I'm moving, feeling much better, I'm getting some blood pumping through the legs with some nice pulses of the legs a little bit straighter, or you can walk the dog, alternating the pulse from leg to leg. And then we're going to walk those feet forward, bringing yourself into the middle of your mat in a nice forward fold. For ragdoll here, You'll reach for opposite elbows with your hands. Take a halfway lift. Reach the crown of your head forward. Bring the back and chest parallel with the floor so you're at a right angle to your legs. And then exhale as you bend into the knees deeply as you need to, bringing the belly down onto the thighs and letting everything in the upper body just hang loose. So where you have the grasp on your elbows, you can sway from side to side, using that as kind of an anchor to draw you down deeper into your fold as you stretch through one leg at a time. Now we do this little sway side to side. You'll feel it more in your left and then more in your right, respectively, as you move through. Coming to stillness in the center, making sure that your head is loose by just nodding yes, shaking no, and then just letting everything surrender. Taking nice deep inhales and exhales here. Inhale, coming to halfway lift. Exhale, folding hands to shins, down the backs and the ankles maybe. And then let's come to standing by rolling up through the spine, coming all the way up. Head and neck come last. Whew. So maybe you could use some water. I certainly could right about now, so. Let's start these sun salutations. So I'm hoping that most of you guys are familiar with sun salutations. I have gone through them in more depth in a previous video, so check that out. You can inhale, bringing the arms up by the sides or up in front of you, your choice. And then exhaling down in front. Hands come to the floor just in front of the feet. And then we'll step back, coming into our plank position here. From our plank, you can lower the knees down. Exhale as you lower the chest to the floor. Take your time with that. Don't just fall off down. And then inhale, lifting the chest for cobra, keeping the elbows in and shoulders down. Exhale down to the floor, pushing the floor away, coming to all fours, and then tucking the toes under, exhaling as you lift up into your downward facing dog again. So we did go through a lot of those transitions before we got to our sun salutation, so hopefully it doesn't feel completely out of place even if you've never done a sun salutation. From here, we'll start to slide ourselves forward, and we're going to come back into a plank, lowering the knees down, exhaling to the floor again. So we're just going to go through that again. Inhaling, lifting the chest, elbows in. Exhale, lifting off the floor, coming through that all fours position to tuck the toes, lift the hips, and send them back for downward facing dog. So we should be feeling good and warm now. Let's lift up the left leg first here. Fly it back as far as you can, as high as you can go. Point the toe. And then bring the knee in towards the chest, planting the foot down just behind the left hand, or as close to the left hand as you can get. And then if you need to help your foot out forward, you can just grab it by the ankle, or you can use the heel toe scooch. Okay, so find yourself a position in a low, or rather a high lunge that feels good, and then turn that foot, so the back foot, so it's on a 45-degree angle. So it's sticking out towards the side, but not straight out towards the side, on an angle. That's our foundation for Warrior One. So in Warrior One, we lunge through the front leg, the back leg spirals around so that our hips are both pointed towards the front, whatever the front is for you. For me, it's a closet door. So putting both my hips in that direction, arms up. So you can really feel a lot of strengthening going on. I can feel both legs in different ways, building strength here as you lift the arms, lift the chest, lift the gaze if that feels okay for your neck. I always say, or I always love saying, lift the gaze. And then bringing the hands into heart center, bringing them down in front of you, and we'll transition into warrior 3. So I'm actually going to take a little half step back here, and you can do the same if you're quite close to your mat. It doesn't matter. But to enter warrior 3, we'll keep our leg a little bit bent here, our standing leg, as our flying leg lifts off. You lean your chest forward in proportion to how much you're lifting your back leg. So you're going to come to a T shape if you can, but only lifting the leg as far as you are lowering the chest. Keeping the hands in at heart center and trying to keep this back hip from rolling up. So you still are trying to keep your hips both pointed in the same direction. From this warrior 3, we'll transition into warrior 2. So if you're in a small space like me, that can get a little tricky. But your back foot, now it is going to be pointed straight out to the side at a 90-degree angle. And you want to take a very wide lunge. So a lot of heel toeing going on there. So we come to this nice wide lunge where now the hips are squared to the side wall. So we were here with the hips and we've come and opened them up. The arms are going to open as well, coming to this T shape parallel with the floor. And you can turn your gaze to look out over the front fingertips. Just watch that you're not letting your knee come really far in towards the side. You want it to be opening up. You're going to feel your glutes work way more when you have that knee actively opening. You should be able to look down and see your big toe on the inside of your knee. Reverse warrior next. We'll reach down the back leg with the left hand, reaching, or that's my right hand rather, sorry, reaching the left up and over. I have to make at least one mistake with right and left in every video, so you know I'm not a robot. And then coming to straighten through the legs. Feels so good after those deep lunges. You'll turn to face the front, bring the hands down, framing the foot, plant the palms, and step back, finding a downward facing dog here. So again, you're gonna slide forward into a plank position. Lowering the knees, lowering the chest on an exhale. Inhale, lift. Cobra, elbows are in. Exhale, pushing the floor away, finding your way to downward facing dog. Tucking the toes, flying the hips up and back. This time it's our right leg that's going to fly up and back. Bending through the knee and coming in towards the chest, stepping the foot forward. So it's a little 3-step process there. Bend the knee, knee towards the chest, foot steps down. Coming into our high lunge position, finding a comfortable length between the feet and then turning the back foot onto that angle. Sole of the foot flat to the floor now. As you come up into your warrior 1, spiral the back leg so the hips are coming forward. Inhale, reach the arms up. Breathe. If you need to adjust the length of your stance, go ahead. Just make sure that your hips are still squared forward, reaching for the ceiling. I'm definitely starting to sweat now. Bringing those hands down to prayer as you start to lean forward. Again, if you need to take a step back, go ahead. And then squaring the hips as you lift the back leg in proportion to how much you're tilting your upper body downward. I'm trying to come to a nice horizontal T shape. I have absolutely no idea what this looks like right now, and if you fall out, that's totally fine. You just come right back into that balance again. And then let's start to step the foot back. Hopefully more control than I just did. That wasn't great, but what are you gonna do? Not every transition is perfect. You're gonna heel toe your foot forward as much as you need to get into this nice deep lunge. So now you can see a little bit better what I was talking about on the other side. Hips are open towards the side. Back foot at a nice angle to the side. I don't know what to say there. And then lunging forward into the knee and opening it up to the side so you can spot that big toe. Let's bring in the arms and bring in the gaze, shifting to look out over the front fingertips. So you're trying to keep your arms parallel to the floor and trying not to lean forward too far. So as if someone's pulling on your back arm, trying to get your attention gently. And reverse warrior. So we reach down the back leg. This time it's the left hand, and we'll reach up and over with the right. So nice abdomen stretch here too as you lean back, open up through the side body with that reaching arm. Starting to release the bend of the front leg. Whew. And we're already here. We're just gonna turn out both feet at about a 45-degree angle. And you may want to bring them in a little bit. That might be too wide of a lunge. Just taking a few steps back. And then getting into a nice low position in a goddess squat. So this is called a goddess squat. Just shifting from side to side. And if you want to, you can get your shoulders involved. Whatever side you're shifting away from, that shoulder is going to come down in the center. This feels really good, and it's a nice way to start to wind down now in the practice. So we definitely burned through some energy. Ooh. Might hear a pop or click or two through these hips as you're pushing out against the knee and then straightening through the legs. Let's come down into a yogi squat here. So sitting back and down with the hips, with the feet as wide as the mat. Sometimes people will try this with their feet in really narrow and it doesn't work very well. There's not enough space for the hips to come down. Once you're down, you can bring your elbows just the insides of the knees and start to push the knees back as you sit up nice and tall here. Lifting through the chest, gaze is forward. Bounce around or move a little bit from side to side if you feel like you need something to do here. And then you can bring one hand to the front and one hand just behind you and sit those hips back nice and gently, releasing the legs. So you'll come to sit in a straddle position. If you like, you can have something underneath of your seat as a extra cushion. Give you a little bit of a lift as well. So you're going to bring your legs out as wide as is comfortable for you. If I'm being fully honest, this is a little bit wider than I'd like, but I have to keep my heels on my mat because it hurts. I'm delicate. And that's okay. So wide-legged forward fold. Here we go. We're going to fold to each side. So it's a twist with a fold. Turning towards whichever leg you want to start with. And if it's a lot to have both legs out at any width, then you can feel free to bend one of the legs in. I think I'm actually going to stick with that for today. So inhaling, lifting the chest, turning towards that leg so you're square over that leg before you start to melt forward on that exhale breath. And you can bend into this knee a little bit. Take some of the pull out from the back of the leg, which can be a really intense spot in this particular pose or this type of a pose. So you'll note that I bent my knees quite a lot in the forward fold standing as well for the same reason. Also, it protects the lower back. Inhale to sit up. So you can change the bent leg if you have a leg bent. If you don't, then you're squaring yourself off towards the other side. Inhaling. Exhaling. Maybe you're bending into the knee a little bit here. And then just moving your hands down the leg to a point where you feel comfortable. With each breath, you can be lengthening forward on the inhale and exhaling to come a little bit lower. And in forward folds, this is where you're going to realize if you need to cut your toenails or not. I don't know if you can see those bad boys from all the way over there, but a little humor for your yoga practice, if indeed you find that funny. Coming to sit up. We're nearly done here. We're going to come to a lying down position. Make sure you've got a little bit of space to each side of your legs here as we're going to finish on a supine twist. So lying back and taking your time, you can guide yourself down using your legs, really engaging through the core, trying to extend out the time that it takes for you to lie all the way down. Head and neck will come last. So coming to lie down with your knees bent, soles of the feet planted on the floor. We'll practice a twist with the option of adding on the cattail stretch, which I taught in the last video, and I realized as I was doing it that I had sort of gotten it a little bit wrong. So we're going to do that properly today. We'll start by twisting towards the right hand side. So in order to do that, we'll move our hips over just a little bit towards the left. So I'm at an inch or two. And you can take your arms out towards the sides in a T shape, or if you have something next to you, you can practice it in a cactus arm shape, which just means you'll be bent at the elbows at about 90 degrees. So from here, your legs will already know where they're going to go, and they're going to be heading over towards that right side. So if you want to add on the cattail variation to this twist, actually before I say that, if you want to just make this twist a little deeper as it is, you can take your right hand and put it on your left knee and just guide that left knee down towards the floor a little bit deeper, as long as your left shoulder stays put on the floor. However, if you do want to add on the cattail part, you'll need your arm down on the floor, your right arm, because it's your left arm then that's going to be reaching down to find your right foot, so that you continue to twist through the left leg and hip as you're getting that quad stretch on the other side. Okay, so you need to move your leg back quite a bit, your right leg, so it was in line with your left leg, and now it is lined up so that the knee is basically coming straight down out of the hip. Really nice twist here. And release. Letting go of the foot, turning back onto the back, and then moving your hips over into the center and then over towards the right, because of course we'll twist to the opposite direction. So first, both arms, cactus, And then you'll gently start to let those legs go over to the left-hand side. So they may go all the way over to the side and they may not. And you may want to use your left hand just to guide the right knee down a little bit deeper into the twist. So if you're doing the cattail variation, then you'll release that left arm. You'll start to push that knee back so that it's coming straight down from the hip, and you can reach for your foot, your left foot. Try to keep that knee tracking down towards the floor, twisting through the belly and the back, and then you're also engaging this quad stretch through the front of the leg. And then releasing, rolling back onto the back, moving the hips back over towards the center of your mat and extending the legs out long. Bringing yourself into a comfortable, surrendered position, letting the feet and ankles just flop out to the sides or inwards if that's what they want to do. Keep a little bit of a bend through your knees as they're relaxed. You can lift your hips up a little bit and tuck your pelvis forward so that as you lie back down, your lower back is more flush with the floor than it previously was. You can do the same with your upper body, tucking your shoulder blades underneath your chest, releasing the arms down, palms face up, so that the hands are about a foot away from the sides of your body. Making sure the head and neck are in nice alignment, lengthened along the floor surface. And that the head and everything else is heavy into your mat, so you're not making any efforts to hold your body in any kind of a way. You're just letting everything go. Noticing your face, checking in with your jaw. Is your jaw clenched? Are you holding your teeth? Your top and bottom rows of teeth, are you holding them together? Try to release any tension you have in your jaw and allow your teeth to separate and your tongue to just rest on the bottom or the floor of your mouth. Notice all the areas around the eyes where we can hold tension, outer corners, in between the eyes like the forehead, even behind the eyes themselves where we get those like ocular headaches. If you've ever had one of those, you know what I mean. Just trying to relax through the eye socket and everywhere else in your face that you might be able to feel any tension. Just let it soften, almost as if the skin could just start to slide off. It won't, of course. And this is where I'll leave you guys for today. You should be really, really relaxed. Now, hopefully having released quite a bit of tension from your day, whatever that held or will hold for you, you're going to move forward not carrying all that heaviness. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Dog! You want to show the people how you like to sit on your bum like a good girl? You sit on bum? Oh my goodness. Oh, that's getting lifted.